Another day, another NFL blockbuster. What a week it has been. This time, the news surrounds the wide receiver position, which really should interest the 49ers. Tyreek Hill from the Chiefs to the Dolphins. Obviously, the 49ers connections run deep because the Dolphins are coached by Mike McDaniel, their former offensive coordinator. And as you might have read, the Jets were the other finalist for Tyreek Hill's services. They're coached by Robert Saleh, which led me to this gem. I told people on Twitter, told the followers they need to go out there and they need to make a Photoshop that has Robert Saleh and Mike McDaniel lightsaber battling it out in front of the former boss, Kyle Shanahan. Well, this just happened on Twitter, and it's really good. We'll make it bigger. Shanahan in the background, Saleh, Mike McDaniel, and as the movie went, Mike McDaniel beat Saleh here, right? Vader, Luke Skywalker. Skywalker, obviously, with the blue, with the green lightsaber, Saleh with the red one. And anyway, at the end of the day, you saw Tyreek Hill choose to go to the Miami Dolphins over the New York Jets. So what does this mean for the 49ers? Because this is fascinating stuff, as it always is. It has downstream ramifications, ripple effects for the rest of the league. And the 49ers are no exception, especially since their top receiver, Deebo Samuel, is eligible for a lucrative contract extension this offseason. First of all, Tyreek Hill at 4 years, $120 million, which is the value of his new contract with the Miami Dolphins, is the NFL's first $30 million average per year non-quarterback. Nick Bosa will not hold that distinction. It was thought that Nick Bosa, who's also eligible for a new contract, just like Deebo Samuel this offseason, would have a chance to become the NFL's first $30 million non-QB. But that's not going to happen because Tyreek Hill at 4/120 is at exactly $30 million. He's going to have that distinction, and he passed Davante Adams, whose new contract with the Raiders after the trade a few days ago came at $28 million per year. In fact, I made this. This was the receiver payment chart before Deebo Samuel, before any of this happened. And here, we got to refresh this page. It's get back to the top of the chart. Oops, I got to log into the Athletic for you guys. But if we take a look at this, you will see that before all of this upheaval, you had DeAndre Hopkins at the top of the chart at 27.3 per year, but that was only on an extension that totaled about a couple years of new money, not one of these 5-year deals that we now see with Davante Adams and a 4-year deal that we see with Tyreek Hill. And then you had Julio Jones following that at 22, Keenan Allen at 20, Amari Cooper at 20, Michael Thomas at 19.3. Well, that's all peanuts now because you have Davante Adams, the new version of this list. Davante Adams was at the top for a few days at $28 million per year. And obviously now Tyreek Hill has finally cracked $30 million per year. So it's the receiver market, not the edge rusher market, that becomes the first non-quarterback market to hit that $30 million APY. So that means that Deebo Samuel is going to make a lot of money. Right now, this is the big offseason of the wide receiver, right? Even Mike Williams picked up a $20 million APY contract. But we're still waiting now for these younger phenoms, and that's Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, and A.J. Brown, who are all eligible for contract extensions to potentially receive one over the next few months. And the parameters for these contract extensions keep on moving upward and upward. First with Davante Adams at $28 million APY, and now with Tyreek Hill at $30 million APY. I surmised in the piece that you see up on the screen, and I'll put in the chat section right now. This is a piece from a couple weeks ago that talked about the 49ers budget for both Deebo and for Nick Bosa. I surmised there that Deebo Samuel might earn anywhere between $22 million and $24, maybe $25 million per year. And I think that prediction is actually looking really, really good right now. You can sign up for the Athletic for a lot less than $24 million per year. At the comment in the chat section, the link is right there. So go check that out. But the number just keeps on moving up. It once was, oh, will Deebo Samuel crack $20 million per year? Well, obviously he's going to crack $20 million per year Mike Williams got $20 million per year. And Deebo Samuel, I mean, there's a reason they put both running backs and receivers up there. I think he's a receiver first contractually. From the NFL's perspective, he'll be treated as a receiver, but his running back ability should only sweeten the pot. And to be honest, getting Deebo Samuel for under $25 million a year might actually be a steal for the 49ers to lock him up so soon, because we are seeing a financial revolution in the National Football League. This deal for Tyreek Hill, the first non-quarterback to reach $30 million, has actually been a long time in the making. And by that, I mean several contracts in the making here over the past few weeks. So really, in the actual calendar time of making, it's been a short time making, because the explosion that we're seeing right now financially has been absolutely remarkable. You saw Aaron Rodgers sign for record money. You obviously moved forward and saw Deshaun Watson get ultra record money from the Cleveland Browns. And then you saw Matt Stafford sign a crazy extension with the Rams. And you saw the 49ers push money into the future with their restructures of Dee Ford, Eric Armstead, and George Kittle to be able to carry Jimmy Garoppolo in a way that people didn't expect on the roster. You've seen all these financial machinations, and there's been one common theme, and that's been teams' willingness and comfort in pushing money forward to future years. And that's because the salary cap is set to absolutely explode. In fact, they're expecting a $260 million salary cap within just a couple of years, and potentially a $300 million salary cap by 2027. That's because NFL revenue deals are set to skyrocket with the advent of these new TV deals. That's going to be next year. You're going to have to watch Thursday Night Football on Amazon because of these deals. Amazon was reportedly willing to pay John Lynch close to $15 million. That's how much money is flowing around. And that's why the salary cap is going up. That's why it's so much less of an issue for teams to restructure players and to push money forward. It's good for the 49ers because they could buy more time to figure out what to do with Jimmy Garoppolo. And obviously it's good for Tyreek Hill. 4 years, $120 million. It's going to be good for Nick Bosa, even though he won't be the first $30 million APY player outside the quarterback position. And it's going to be good for Deebo Samuel. So that's the short version of how this impacts the 49ers. They're going to have to be ready to pay up for these guys. But paying up has never been more manageable with the salary cap, because it's projected to spike so much, as you've seen in this business over the past week. Tyreek Hill and Raheem Mostert, potentially two of the NFL's fastest players, are now on Mike McDaniels' team. I think that's cool. We know that Mike McDaniel has a need for speed. We know that his favorite player with the 49ers was Raheem Mostert, so it wasn't surprising when the Dolphins signed Mostert to a $3.125 million deal, despite the fact that he's been active and played in only 8 of his past 33 games due to injury issues. That's why the 49ers did not bring Raheem Mostert back. But this, obviously, the development today was surprising. Hill to the Dolphins. So now Hill, who's such a game changer, right? I think the way that he impacted how things work and how the spacing works in Kansas City's pass game might have been comparable to how Raheem Mostert's speed impacted the 49ers' run game. Both offenses schematically benefited big time from that type of speed. And now Mike McDaniel has that elite speed at both the receiver position and at the running back position. And you just have to hope that Raheem Mostert stays healthy for him. But boy, McDaniel, schematic genius in the run game. We know that for sure. Now he's going to get to try his hand with Tyreek Hill in the pass game. And guess who's going to have to try his hand without Tyreek Hill in the pass game? Patrick Mahomes. Everybody always talks about the benefit of, a receiver and a scheme to a quarterback. For some reason, Patrick Mahomes has been a little immune to those discussions, even though he has had some struggles here and there. Obviously, some of those struggles came in the AFC Championship game when the Chiefs lost to the Bengals. But, anytime people bring up discussions like that, then you just say, well, Joe Montana would have been hurt without Jerry Rice. It's a team sport, right? You have to have your weapons. And I really think this is going to be a challenge for Patrick Mahomes without the speed spacing ability of Tyreek Hill. Obviously, we have this component, McDaniel versus Saleh for Tyreek Hill. This is Alexander Cesseño on Twitter. This is his art. I want to make sure that I credit him. Alexander Cesseño, great P. Or Cesseña, sorry. Alexander Cesseña on Twitter made a great little Photoshop of Robert Saleh and Mike McDaniel in front of the Emperor, Kyle Shanahan, battling it out for Tyreek Hill. Funny stuff. Can't get over it. Compensation here. This is a really interesting part. 2022 first round pick, 2022 second round pick, 2022 fourth round pick, and fourth and sixth round picks in 2023 next year, going from Kansas City to going from Miami to Kansas City in exchange for Tyreek Hill. That's more than Devontae Adams fetched, who went from Green Bay to the Raiders for first and second round picks. So obviously the game-changing ability of Tyreek Hill here was valued more than that of Devontae Adams, which I don't think is surprising. I mean, Hill's speed really is something else, and we saw it with the Chiefs over the past several seasons. But what's interesting about this trade compensation is that first round pick, and by the way, the Jets didn't offer a first round pick, which is funny because you go back to this, you go back to these two guys squaring off. Well, McDaniel had the better offer. He had the first round pick, even though it sounds like Tyreek Hill definitely had the ability to at least strongly dictate where he would go. But I just thought that it was funny that the difference in the offers, because the Jets offer was commensurate to Miami's offer in terms of total draft pick value if you looked at the value chart. But the difference in the offers really was that first round pick that Miami sent over to Kansas City that Miami had initially acquired from the 49ers. That's why it's number 29. It initially belonged to the 49ers. But remember, a year ago, the 49ers traded up to number 3, sent Miami a couple first round picks. And one of those first round picks was this number 29 pick, which was so low in the first round because the 49ers made the NFC title game. Well, that went to the Dolphins. And now the Dolphins and Mike McDaniel, who technically used to own that pick when he was with the 49ers, have shipped it off to Kansas City to get Tyreek Hill. So it's a small world, and it's just interesting how all that came to fruition. One more piece of 49ers news. Jordan Willis re-signed for the 49ers, a 1-year deal. He really came along as a pass rusher over the course of this past season. Of course, was a special teams hero with his punt block in Green Bay. Willis, soft-spoken guy, high-quality locker room guy. I'm going to go out and retweet his quote about the 49ers locker room and those dynamics and how he, actually decided not to do a post-game press conference right after he blocked that punt in Green Bay at Lambeau Field because he didn't want to take shine off of his teammates. That really embodied the ethos and the spirit of the 2021 49ers. Well, I think it's important that the team brought him back so we could take a look at the depth chart now and we could slot Jordan Willis in live in real time. Before Jordan Willis right now, 44 out of 53 projected 53-man spots taken. Well, obviously, we expect Willis to be there. We'll put him in here as edge depth. There you go, 45 of 53 roster spots taken. In fact, now that's 9 defensive linemen that I have projected to make the 49ers 53-man roster. So it's really going to take a needle-moving signing to knock somebody out of there or an injury, obviously. But I think the 49ers are close to having that defensive line set. They might draft somebody that could give one of these players that's currently on the team a push, but obviously you do have to account for injuries. So it's going to be very interesting. So that's the 49ers news right now. We'll see what else happens, but obviously the 49ers are working with some restraint in free agency. They got their guy, Charvarius Ward, and they'll move forward, trying to use the best business acumen possible. Obviously waiting to see what they can do with Jimmy Garoppolo throughout the course of this offseason. And, it's a game of Tetris. They're trying to put all the puzzle pieces together, fit under the salary cap. That's a little bit easier than it was before because of what we just talked about, pushing money into the future. They've already done some of that. But it's the NFL draft that's going to be a big deal for the 49ers with 9 picks coming up in late April. All right, let's open it up to some questions here on this big day of NFL news. It seems that every day is a big day of NFL news. Niners all day pumped up about Jordan Willis, obviously going to live on in franchise lore for what he did in Green Bay. But if you take a look at how the 49ers surged on the defensive line at the end of the 2021 season, you'll see Willis was one of the players who absolutely made a name for himself down the stretch. He's responded well to Chris Kaceric's coaching, which is big for the 49ers. I'm going to go to the 49ers defensive line piece right here. We scroll down and look, this divides the 49ers defensive line into splits over the course of the 2021 season. So the first column is weeks 1 to 7. Red is bad, blue is good. The second column is week 8 through the end, and the last column is week 14 through the end. Willis is right here. He was suspended for the first 6 weeks, but he's in the blue and he's getting better with a pass rush productivity of 6.6 and then 7.5. The splits were improving over the course of that season, just like most of the rest of the 49ers room there on the defensive line. In fact, the only below average pass rusher by season's end was Kevin Givens. So Givens has other attributes, good run defender, quick off the ball. But if there is anybody's spot that might be threatened by a draftee coming in along the defensive line or another signing, it might be Kevin Givens, because you see that 49ers defensive line just sung when it came to pass rushing at the end of the 2021 season, as evidenced by that chart. Will Jordan Willis be Sampson's backup at the defensive end position? Yeah, well, I mean, there's going to be a more complicated rotation than that, but Willis is an edge defender. Ebukam is an edge defender. Bosa is an edge defender. The 49ers, Charles Omenihu is an edge defender. So they have their alpha unit. They have their Bravo unit. The 49ers will try to keep the alphas fresh. They'll bring in the Bravos. I think Jordan Willis obviously slots in amongst the Bravos, but sometimes you'll see mixing and matching. So for the purposes of my depth chart, which you saw on the screen, I have Jordan Willis behind Samson Ebukam. I have Omenihu behind Bosa, but it can also work out in different ways. Right now, they're stocked on those interior guys: Armstead, Kinlaw, Givens, Ridgeway, and Maurice Hurst. We'll see who's healthy. We'll see who's not. We'll see who else the 49ers might sign. Arden Key is going to be really interesting. Everyone in blue back minus Key. Key right now still a free agent. Would I expect the 49ers to target a speed edge guy at 61? Well, let's see how free agency continues going. 61 is tough because you usually pass the premier edge rushers at 61. So you really have to find a diamond in the rough. The thing about the 49ers is that with Chris Kasarik there, they probably can find a diamond in the rough because you find a guy that you can develop better than a lot of other D-line coaches can develop. Remember, they have 9 picks, and remember that the 49ers are actually really excited about the fact that this draft is more bottom than top heavy. So that means that they probably won't be looking to trade up all too aggressively, like into the first round, unless there's a shocking move. They may trade up a bit to get a guy they really like. But the 49ers are actually happy that their picks are situated and clumped in the middle of this draft because they think that last season's draft was more top heavy and this one is definitely more bottom heavy, spread out there toward the lower rungs. Looking for more questions here. Wonder if the Dolphins inquired about Deebo. Well, I'm sure players are inquired about all the time. So, I mean, they might be. Deebo Samuel still has a year on his rookie contract, eligible for an extension. With the communication flow and the friendship between McDaniel and Shanahan, I wouldn't be surprised if there was an inquiry, right? Just a quick question, but I wouldn't read anything too much into it if there was one. If anything, though, it seems to me that Mike McDaniel is more of a speed guy. Shanahan is more of the brute toughness guy. He likes to zag while the rest of the league is downsizing and zigging. So Shanahan's going to have the yak kind of dudes, and it looks like McDaniel is the burner speed kind of guy. So he's got Mostert and he's got Tyreek Hill on the team now. Azeez Al-Shire at linebacker. Have I not put him there yet? Oh, well, we're waiting for Azeez Al-Shire to sign his RFA tender. So no, he's officially not on the roster yet at this point. So, I mean, when you add Al-Shire, that's going to be 46. If Daniel Brunskill signs his tender, that's going to be 47. So those still need to become official, though. So they've been offered the contracts, but they haven't technically signed them. They could still see if they can get better offers from other teams. So that should explain the roster situation for you. But Tyreek Hill back on there. Are the 49ers done with free agency? No team's ever done with free agency. I mean, we're just now on the second and then probably the third wave of free agency. The 49ers, ever since they've gotten good, haven't really been first wave of free agency guys, right? They're not going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're not awash in that type of cap space. And two, they're trying to build a system. They're not just trying to sign big names. They're trying to build a sustainable winner. So they're probably going to be more active on that second wave of free agency, as has been the case. You know, you get guys like Warren Burks, Hassan Ridgeway, Ray McLeod, George Odom. All of those players have been added to the team. They've addressed a lot of weaknesses, but they've done so in a quieter way. The headliner was Charvarius Ward. That was their first wave guy. But free agency happens for a long time. It's not just a 1 week thing. It's March 23rd right now. That means we're still about 5 or 6 months away. Breaking news, thanks to Mike, Dante Johnson re-signed by the 49ers. So I'm going to slot Dante Johnson in there, and I will talk about that for just a second. So why don't we put this up on the banner? Dante Johnson re-signed. I'm guessing it's a 1-year deal. Correct me if I'm wrong. There we go. Dante did a good job for the 49ers this past year. He was a dependable, versatile defensive back. So you look at this room. I mean, Dante could be a nickel kind of guy, right? He could back up the nickel. He could back up the outside. Did an awesome job against Devontae Adams and the Packers in the divisional round. And he also played safety in Week 18 against the Los Angeles Rams, and the 49ers really needed him in a pinch. So I'll put Dante Johnson as a backup left cornerback for right now. I have him making that 53-man roster as it stands. I think you like him as reliable depth, and that's 46 out of 53 spots taken on the projected 53-man roster. Azeez Al-Shire and Daniel Brunskill would be 47 and 48 if they sign their RFA tenders. So thanks for the heads up. Dante Johnson is back in tow with the 49ers. It is a 1-year deal, and that means that the 49ers have now added Willis and Dante Johnson on targeted kind of deals here over the past 2 days. I, meanwhile, have an article that came out today that you should check out on The Athletic, and maybe I'll make a dedicated piece about this, but this is about the 49ers offensive line, and it's a critical to-do list. 3 challenges that the 49ers must confront to improve their O-line, which I still think is the biggest issue with this football team. So check out the link in the chat section right there. Again, Athletic, $1 a month. The to-do list, the 3 challenges the 49ers must confront. Yes, I did read Josh's mind, who just said, what's the plan for the O-line? And I read his mind. That's the link. Check it out. Here is the plan for all of you. You know, their adaptability needs to be the focus for the 49ers along the offensive line because they have so many intertwined issues. The first issue is the wide open vacancies at guard. You know, what are you going to do at left guard? What are you going to do at right guard? Is Brunskill going to be part of that? You've lost Laken Tomlinson. Where does Aaron Banks fit into the mix? Do you really trust Aaron Banks? Where do guys like Jalen Moore fit into the mix? I mean, there are a lot of moving pieces. And while there are a lot of moving pieces, there are a lot of moving problems too. Like the center position where I think the 49ers need to set up an apprenticeship for Alex Mack, who's going to be 37 years old next season. So you have to figure out a way to make sure that Mack is imparting his wisdom on whoever's going to take over. And that might be Brunskill. And if it's Brunskill, well, you got to find somebody else for right guard so Brunskill can focus on being a utility lineman, learning under Mack. But if it's not Brunskill or Mack, do you draft somebody? Well, yeah, I name a couple guys the 49ers can draft in this piece. I name a couple guys the 49ers can sign in this piece, but they better find linemen who could do a lot of different things so they could fill all these holes, because there's also a third hole, and that means establishing a contingency at right tackle. Mike McGlinchey tore his quad. That's a serious injury. We don't know how healthy he's going to be. We don't know how effective he's going to be. And we do know that he's only under contract for 1 more year. So you better have a plan at right tackle moving forward if you're the 49ers. And that plan, probably to be most efficient, will also help a guard situation that's a vacuum right now. And you can't forget about center. So every single position outside of left tackle where Trent Williams isn't getting any younger is somewhat of a question mark, either in the short term or the long term or both for the 49ers O-line, which makes all this Jimmy Garoppolo talk, all this hand-wringing just obsessively stupid because, I mean, again, business 101. Jimmy Garoppolo is on the 49ers right now because the 49ers are waiting for a trade market to materialize for obvious reasons that we've discussed a million times. It's currently not there, and it doesn't hurt the 49ers to carry Garoppolo on the roster. They haven't missed out on any free agency signings because of the financial realities of the league. So while people are here obsessing over the fact that, and, you know, over an inconsequential thing, I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo on the roster is not changing your life. It's not changing the 49ers way of doing business right now. While everybody's obsessing over this, the offensive line, is remaining untended to over on the side. There are major problems on this offensive line that the 49ers need to address, and it doesn't matter who's playing quarterback next year if they don't address them. So that's the main thing that the 49ers must take care of, in my opinion, and I don't think there's a close second right now. I think O-line is where the 49ers absolutely must hammer home, and that's why you should check out the link on the page, and that's probably why I'm going to make a separate video to talk about the O-line moving forward. All right, I'm ready for some more questions. No, I would not expect Alfredo Gutierrez to really push for a roster spot. He's the international exception player. He doesn't really fit the mold, though, of the really movable 49ers tackle that, is kind of the prototype in the Shanahan system. They love Alfredo there. The thing is, it's just a different level, when you go from that international exception to an actual 53-man roster in the NFL, just to be honest about that one. Do the 49ers push any money down the line to pay for the 9-man draft class? Well, yes, they're going to have to push some money down the line if they don't trade Jimmy Garoppolo before then, because they're about, $7.7 million right now. That's what the bill is going to be for the 9-man draft class. And I think they have about $4 million in cap space, but there's plenty of ways to push money down the line. Extend Ebicom, extend Ward. Those are two big ones. There's other ones that you can do. We'll get to that later. The 49ers will definitely get to that later as well. All right, everybody, thank you for joining. I have to go take care of a couple things, so be sure to subscribe to the channel. The more followers we have, the more creativity we potentially gain from. Saleh, McDaniel, Shanahan, the Emperor in the background. What a Photoshop job. Very, very impressive from Alexander Cesena. Got to get his last name correctly. Alexander Cesena, good job on that one. Sub to the channel. We'll talk to you all soon. Thanks again. Everybody have a good Wednesday afternoon.